We're going to be throwing a platter. So I have some fresh clay out of the pugger, and this is my method of putting large amounts of clay on my bat so I can throw. Just make sure that when you're doing this that you get it somewhat centered. Try not to trap any air bubbles when you add the clay. And then I just do the mechanical smash. I don't know what you call it. And then you're going to start using the heel of your left hand and pressing down with the heel of your right. You just start centering it and compressing. Then you're going to want to try to manipulate the clay and bring it up so we can get the consistency of the clay equal. We don't have hard spots and soft spots. And you're going to have to determine how many times you want to do this. My clay is really fresh out of the pugger, so I might do it 1 or 2 times, but other people might do it more. You just kind of have to practice and get a feel for it. Definitely want to compress. That's really important. And one of the mistakes I've made in the past is I've gone too fast, and you end up getting a few air bubbles if you go too fast. Now we're going to compress. I use my body, the weight of my upper body, and my arm. I'm compressing, always compressing, and also pulling out a little bit. And once again, I try to use my body. I try to use as few tools as possible. And if that last part that you saw me do, I may have gone a little bit too fast. If you do that too fast, you'll get air bubbles once again. So you just have to take your time. And just compress, compress, compress. You're going to go in, you're going to go out, you're going to go back in and out, and this kind of gets that clay nice and tight. You can see I got a couple, I can feel the air bubbles. And then one of my tricks is I add water, and it fills the hole so you don't get additional air bubbles. And then you want to go out and in. You can see on my platter that the foot on the bottom is probably going to be as wide when I make my platters. It's typically at this point that's about the size of the foot, and then I'll pull the side out from there. It's also suggested that you use a tool to compress. You can see here. Keep it slanted so it doesn't cut into the clay. And you'll start to feel. And now you see I'm going to start working the edge a little bit, making it consistent. Compressing the edge is really critical too. I want a consistent edge here because when I go to pull that side rim, I need it to be even. I don't want there to be more clay on one side than the other. And right now I'm just trying to work in a nice spiral. I like spirals in my platters. So I'm just trying to get the right look. And it might take a few ins and outs to figure that out. A lot of people start from the inside out. I usually throw from the outside in. I usually spiral from the outside in. Checking the thickness of the platter. I'm going to compress the edge and start forming that ridge. I'm using this tool just to get a little bit of roundness on the bottom of that platter. Once again, it's just key to keep compressing and make sure that that clay is nice and tight. Here I'm going to, once again, compress my edge. A lot of times you can take the trough off and you can throw without the trough. Otherwise the platter rim gets way too big for the wheel. My method of throwing platters is to pretty much pull up, get that clay standing up, and then once again make sure you compress on that edge. Don't get the edge too thin, you want to keep it nice and thick. And I don't really get too concerned if I do get one side just a little bit bigger than, a little bit, I guess, wider than the other side. I mean, these are handmade, so they really don't need to be perfect. You don't want to mess with the rim too much or it'll fall. If you wet it too much or you work it too much, it will collapse.